All right. So, Glad replied to this tweet. I did see this tweet. Said, nah, F all that. Just make D3. We will wait.
This was shot in front of a live studio audience at twitch.tv/Sweatcicle.
Hi, game design educator and volunteer game dev. Offer opinions from players in the game, but uninformed ultimatum options from a content creator about what's best for a game and its player base won't and will never work for those creators who have zero clue about the messy world that is game development. There's no magical flip a switch that will make these a reality in the short term, especially with those false fallacy of drawing results from pursuits of other game studios far separated from different genres and development environments. Saying other games made it work doesn't inherently create an automatic success path for the game at hand. Destiny 3 is by far the most viable option, but even if development started today, a quality D3 build would still be 5-6 years out, far beyond where players are currently determining if the current content drops are worth the wait and investment for a new installment. And the community-run idea would sound good in theory, but this introduces the extreme issue of engine outdating and the time or the dev time it would take just to make a possibility a reality, let alone how it would impact an overall game build. And don't even get started on the DCV affecting both these ideas when the player base has largely vocalized their disappointment in content paid and lost. The true reality is that D2 has reached a pivotal transition point where innovation has to take front and center within the constraints of the current dev environment. And to be completely honest, no solution they can make, however massive, will positively impact a large community of players who choose to remain jaded in negativity and believing Bungie can do no good. The only thing left now for Bungie to do the only thing left now is for Bungie to do everything in their power to shift their approach to content, take risks, and reward players for their time. And this is a quote tweet to Cross saying there are two routes to save Destiny, D3 or Destiny Classic. Okay, let's start at the root here. If anybody truly thinks Destiny Classic will save the Destiny franchise, you are delusional and you do not understand this ecosystem. I stand on that. I don't care how much you disagree, bitch, whine, and moan. You are wrong. And I don't try to take that critical of a stance too often, but I can, bro, I would love for time machines to exist. We go down the route of Destiny Classic. People play it for a month, they have a great time, and then they go, oh yeah, there's nothing new to offer. I'm off. I'll see you later. Because that's exactly what would happen. It would be a very short-lived thing for a very high-cost investment. The only true path is for D3 at this point, because that is only because they've let D2 sink so far down in quality that it's almost unsavable. I mean, that's not to sound doomer, but I genuinely believe that at this point. So building up to this whole thing, the crazy part, like, there are some truths in this in which he's right. There's no magical flip a switch solution, but there also is at the same time. If you want me to pull up an example, back in the Game Developer Conference 2022, which gets referenced a lot because that was the infamous don't over-deliver, but Bungie also said they were 5 weeks from having to close down Destiny 2's doors because Curse of Osiris was so bad. It's kind of crazy how you can go from saying the game was about to close down in February to launching the best DLC we've ever had within 7 months. Forsaken. In that window, they managed to pull that one off. So to say that it would take 5 to 6 years for something of quality to come out, I think is clueless. Because I've talked to devs directly about stuff like this. Like, maybe a new game would be 5 to 6 years out. I don't disagree with that. But let's say in theory, Destiny 3 was starting to be made back in 2022. We'd only be 3 more years out. That's a lot more realistic. And I do believe that they did start a D3, but it got scrapped at some point. I don't know when. That's what I believe. You can have whatever take you want on that, but obviously there's no like proof of that as of this moment. So until something has come out and said, which I don't think they ever will, because they would get crucified if they came out and said, "Hey guys, we were making a D3, but it got scrapped. Sorry. Now you're gonna have to wait another however many years." But people would wait. The thing is like I've said this. People, it's not like people will never play Destiny again. They're just waiting for something cool to happen. They have a very large amount of players that like their franchise, but they would just rather play something else for the time being until they actually do something cool. What was the other thing I wanted to talk about? Oh, yeah. Okay, so along with that, I literally talked to the devs the one time I was at a community summit because I had brought up the idea of making a Forge mode. So I mean, you guys know what Forge is, right? Like, if you know of Halo, like you can create your own maps, you could create your own game modes. Like, it's an obvious thing at this point. I've been saying this for however many years. I brought this up to them, and it was kind of shot down. It was like, yeah, we could do this, but it would take us like 3 years to do. And you know when that was? It was over 3 years ago. So, um, yeah. So here we are. It's just like I just don't understand how we can sit and say this when the things that actually would make a big difference, especially with like letting the community be able to create stuff on their own with like a forge mode, how are we gonna sit and say that this would save the game when they're literally shutting it down when it's brought up to them? Because it wasn't like a new thing that was brought up either. It's not some great innovation that I had. It's something that they've obviously it has been brought up to them before. Yet another example of we're listening. Yeah, I mean, it blew my mind when I heard that. It's like, oh, like yeah, we could do this really cool thing, but it would take us a long time, and we don't want to do that. That's basically what clicked in my head after I had that conversation. And I don't know. I, he is right. Like it is a messy world, but it's from the perspective that management at this company blows ass. They don't know what they're doing. They don't understand what the players want, and they're just there for money. But there was some other big point I had with this too that like really frustrated me. Um, I mean, from this point though, people would wait 5 to 6 years. People are gonna go play something else. Bungie is gonna have to take a huge money loss and pray that it works out. But to say that it would take 5 to 6 years, if they really like put their head to the grindstone, they could crank out a new game in 3 years. I do think that. It might take a little bit longer if they actually wanted to put in some effort, maybe, build on a new engine that doesn't like create all these problems for the current state of the game. Don't even get me started on that. Um I think it's really naive to sit and say the creators and players have zero clue about how game design works. I don't think you need to have the biggest grasp on how game design works to understand what is best for the game. I know game dev is hard. I do. I took a coding class, and let me be very clear. That shit is hard. I do not envy those who do it for a living. But for to say we have no clue when, like, let's just say from the content creator's perspective, I've listened to tens of thousands of opinions about different things on this game over the past however many years. So I will say confidently, more than most people, know what the people want from this game and what would make this game great. I do. And I'm confident saying that. That's not to be like a I know more than everybody type thing. It's just a fact. Because I've lived and breathed this game for the past decade. My job is hard, therefore they cannot do it. That's all this tweet was. I'm gonna be honest, like I am really getting tired. Again, nothing personal to Jake here, but it's like I'm really getting tired of the narrative of oh game dev is hard, poor me. I just do not care at this point. Us as the consumers pay their paychecks And if we do not get a product that we like, we do not have to pay for it. I don't care how hard the job is. Like nobody forced you into game dev. That was your own choice. You know, it's a hard industry to make it in. There are a lot of hard industries to make it in. There are a lot of hard jobs. Plus, it's a disingenuous argument because it isn't just content creators using their own opinion, it's also the community's opinion. Exactly. And I would say my community has formed my opinion more than just me. Like, I have my own opinions, don't get me wrong, but you guys have changed a lot of my opinions about what I used to believe on this game. And I feel like I have a more well rounded opinion than most people. I don't know. We live in a world where, like, there are a lot of hard jobs, but I'm really getting tired of these game devs bitching about how hard their job is, and people have no clue like how this works. We've been trying to help make the game great, but somebody is causing a roadblock at the company. I don't think it's the lower level devs doing like the actual coding. It's the people who are on top of like managing them. And that's I feel bad for them in that regard of like the people that are their managers are the people like at the head of their departments are screwing them over because they like a lot of these devs are doing good work in the sense of like they're doing what they're told to, but what they're being told to do is not good for the game. Saying, "Dude, my job is so hard I can't," is just an excuse not to make anything. Yeah, I don't know, man. At a certain point, like I just don't even know how to word this, man. It's like it's almost not even worth arguing. I try to stay out of arguments on Twitter. Like I literally just I don't even really tweet anymore because it I don't know. There are a lot of people who just have one opinion and they're not willing to change on it. Have them work construction for a week. I That would be interesting. That'd be an interesting video, right? Like job swap. We'll have a game dev who claims their job is so hard, go work construction for a week, and have a construction worker go work game dev. I really wonder how the outcome of something like that would go. I'd rather them start now than 3 years later. Well, the only thing, again, let's just say Destiny 3 would launch in 2030. I think I'd be there to play it. The only variable is does Bungie have enough money to weather the storm? And that really, I think, just comes down to does Sony want to take the loss of revenue over that 5 years, or do they are they going to cut Bungie loose and just absorb all their employees? What is a construction worker going to do? Exactly. I don't know. I just think you can't tell me it wouldn't be a good video if they did job swap. Let Sony and another studio take a shot at the IP. I still maintain that if they gave the Destiny IP to NetEase, NetEase could crank out a better D3 than Bungie would right now. Sony is probably pissed after Bungie promised to deliver them much, and besides Final Shape, it's been nothing but downside. Yep. Acquired for $3.6 billion. 1.8 of that was supposed to be future projections of the game. When did they get acquired? 3 years ago? I almost don't think like Destiny's made more than a couple hundred million over those few years. So I guarantee you Sony's like probably over $1 billion in the hole on Destiny. If I'm just spitballing numbers, but like yeah, I don't know. I think Jake has some good points here, but at the same time, like he does have a point with like there is an amount of negativity and believing that Bungie can do no good. Those people do exist, but do you think it's warranted at this point? Because I do. After a company does stupid things year after year after year to make their franchise that people love worse and worse and worse, people have a very good reason to be angry and think that this company can do no good. There are people who take it too far, obviously, but um yeah, in the sense that like even if they release D3 tomorrow and it's the greatest game ever, there will remain people who just are haters just to hate. But those are just the people yelling on Twitter. They don't actually do anything or pay any bills. So I don't know why it really matters too much. Stripping paid story content away from the game forever. I don't know. I understand everybody's argument about the DCV. I'm standing on the ground that like even if the Red War was still in the game, you're not playing it. The people's main argument is they just don't like having things that they paid for taken away from them, and I agree with that. I don't like that. But if it was in the game, people wouldn't play it. The only part of the base D2 game that people would play is the raid. That's it. And the strikes, because the strikes were good. But Bungie doesn't like strikes anymore. They love battlegrounds, recycled dog shit. So, would I prefer a continuation of Destiny, a prequel, or a timeline? I don't give a shit about the story, if I'm being honest with you. They could do whatever the fuck they want. They can make. They could go any direction with that. I just want a fun game that I'm incentivized to log on, shoot the shit with chat, and earn some loot. And go shoot that loot at raid bosses. That's all I want. We wouldn't play Red War, but the strikes would be in GM rotation. Well, the thing is like, it's very reasonable for them to just do that. But people, I don't know, people, I just think have an overly weird hate boner about the DCV. Okay, so in terms of DCV, if they took all the raids and strikes out of the DCV, do you guys think people would still be bitching about having stuff taken away from them? Because I don't. For people who want to learn the story, I would say yes, because those people would want to play the campaigns. But yeah, you're right. Like, you can't please everybody. Which is why Activision was right. They should have made a new game after like 3 or 4 years. After like Shadowkeep should have been a new game. The next year should have been D3. We should be on like D4 by now. After Witch Queen, yeah. I mean, any year you could argue, but we should at least be on D3. So, the problem with the DCV is that it's something that means something else depending on who you talk to. What do you mean? I think Witch Queen should have started working on D3, then post Final Shape, or this year we get D3. So there's gonna be a lot of different varying opinions on like when it should have happened, but I mean we're all on the same page at this point. It's sad that this has to happen when it's too far gone. There was no foresight on it. I I tried to make my opinions very clear back in 2020 that we needed a new game, and here we are 5 years later, and now people are finally realizing it. I'm just frustrated. Just frustrated, man. Liam, thanks for the Prime. And JB, thanks for the 8 months. I get that people like to replay some stuff, but Red War was boring. Maybe it's just. Well, Red War was also built for a different version of the game where we had two primary weapons, you know? It's almost like a different Destiny. That's why I also don't think having it in the game really does anything. Thanks for the Prime, Fabulous. Okay, yeah, well, we're going in circles about this. TLDR, make D3. People will play when it comes out. Um, Hopefully they have enough money to make it happen. Otherwise, our favorite franchise is probably going to die. Sag.